So what is Hadrian's Wall? Physically, it's a 73-mile-long wall located close to the modern-day England-Scotland border. Some of the stone part of the wall is still standing to this day, and it's visited by thousands every day. More importantly, it's a Roman frontier, and a mark of history signifying the limits of Roman influence and the beginning of the end for one of the most powerful empires ever. So how did, and does, Hadrian's Wall affect the world? Let's start at the beginning. It's the middle of the 1st century BC, and Rome is thriving. Julius Caesar is alive and well, and Rome are still expanding. They decide to expand across the English Channel into Britain, or at least try. It's a really odd kind of place for Rome to occupy. Pretty much all of their empire has a fairly warm and not too wet climate. Britain is totally different though, with an extremely different climate coming in at the forefront. But why are they in Britain anyway? To answer this, and some other questions, I spoke with Dr. McCloskey from Kansas State University, who is an expert in ancient Mediterranean history.
And the first attempt the Romans had to conquer Britain was by Julius Caesar in the middle of the 1st century BC. And one of the reasons that Claudius is the emperor who conquers the island for a second time does so is because Julius Caesar is this amazing, legendary, almost mythological figure in some ways, and this lets Claudius do better what Julius Caesar did.
87 years after Julius Caesar's unfortunate death, Emperor Claudius invades Britain. Emperor Claudius was born in 10 BC in France and became the first Roman emperor to be born outside of Italy. He was married 4 times in his life and conquered Britain. He also built roads and aqueducts, improving the empire until his death at age 63 in 54 AD. The Roman invasion was a very tedious process, starting with even reaching the shores of Britain. It was hard to cross the English Channel to begin with, and once they did that, the rocky shores and cliffs of Britain aided the tribes in defending their homeland. They had to raise an army too, pulling soldiers from all around the empire. The invasion slowly crept on until it stood relatively still toward the end of the 1st century AD. They hit the Caledonian forces, which brought the invasion to a halt. So now Rome have conquered much of Britain, skip to 115 AD, and we now have Emperor Trajan. He was born in Spain in 53 AD and ruled for 19 years, from 98 AD to his death in the year 117 AD. Trajan made a lot of improvements to the empire, including public works and expansion. He almost died in an earthquake in 115 AD, and revolts broke out in the following year. 1 year after that, in 117 AD, he died. This year was the height of the Roman Empire, stretching from Britain to the north of Africa to the Middle East, completely surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. Now when Trajan dies, a new emperor comes to power, Hadrian. In the year 100, Hadrian married Trajan's favorite grandniece, and so he was picked by Trajan to be his successor.
And when Trajan dies in 117, what often happens when a Roman emperor dies, happens, which is that there are local revolts all throughout the Roman Empire. That Egypt tries to get free, Judea tries to get free, Britain tries to get free. And one of the consequences of this is that after the new emperor Hadrian puts down a bunch of revolts, he does a sort of grand tour around the western portions of his empire to sort of see what things are like and to see what needs to be fixed to help stabilize his empire.
So Hadrian takes his big western tour and finally reaches Britain and decides the need to build a wall there to defend it. It was a huge project, but that didn't deter him, and so construction by the Roman legionnaires commenced later that same year. The wall marked the edge of the world Rome knew. Imagine being somebody building or manning the wall for a second. Odds are you got moved from somewhere else in the empire, probably warmer or more Roman, and now you're on the edge of the Roman Empire, staring into more fairly unknown, cold, scary land with a bunch of people that would like it if you were dead. Scary, right?
He abandons the expansionistic attitude of Rome that Rome had had for centuries. And he sort of makes the decision that this is where Rome's borders are, and Rome's not going to expand any further.
So Hadrian was a new kind of emperor. He wasn't like all those other boys. He was kinda quirky. He liked to do things differently, sometimes leaning away from traditional Roman things and culture. When other emperors before him never did, he had a boyfriend. When Roman men didn't wear beards, he did. And when other Roman emperors wanted to expand as much as possible, Hadrian decided that they had enough and that he just wanted to fortify the borders of the empire. When you have so much land, it's hard to control it all, and he felt that more land could be detrimental. So, at this point, they built this huge wall, and they're using lots of resources on it. But why? Paranoia is a big factor. Up north of the wall, there's these so-called barbarians. They were spread out tribe to tribe and were known for being valiant fighters. They were less concerned with fighting Rome to expand themselves, as they were about Rome expanding into their land. They just wanted to be peaceful and not worry about a huge army just coming in and taking their land. As far as Rome were concerned, they were these scary, weird barbarians who were the opposite of what Rome was and what Rome represented. A new type of civilized civilization.
Hadrian's Wall has a transformative impact on local northern British, Romano-British culture. As a defensive installation, it has basically no impact whatsoever. It's not well fortified enough to keep invading armies out. It's more of a to slow them down type thing. The people who live north of the wall are not super in the habit of invading south of the wall. They tend to be more of the just leave us alone type.
So if it wasn't for defense, why do we care? In 2023, it's an amazing marker for the limits of Roman influence. Sure, we have maps, but a whole real-life wall, which is around today and people visit every day, really is something special and unique.
But I would say, and I would guess, that the most important outcome of the wall is not preventing invasions from the north, but in integrating or localizing Roman culture more firmly in northern Britain.
The ripple effects of the Roman invasion into Britain are clear to see. Like any self-respecting ancient empire, they had their religion that they brought with them wherever they went. Rome did things slightly differently, though. When they came to Britain, and eventually conquered much of it, Christianity wasn't their official religion. Everyone in Britain kind of kept doing their own thing, while also adopting the Roman gods and goddesses. Now, the Britons weren't happy about being invaded, but they welcomed Roman religion very well. They were worshipped alongside, and sometimes merged with local gods, goddesses, and spirits. From their perspective, Roman religion was a thing that they incorporated into their own now. In the early 4th century, Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, and eventually it was made into the empire's official religion. Christianity became popular with the British elite. It wasn't until the Anglo-Saxons began to convert in the late 6th century that Christianity started to really become the religion of the British public. Rome brought Christianity, and the Anglo-Saxons finished the work they started. Another thing the Anglo-Saxons built on from the Roman conquest is language. When the Romans came to Britain, they spoke Latin, and so Latin slowly got some words mixed into English. Rome brought the Latin alphabet, Latin grammar, and some Latin words. Roman architecture is some of the best in the ancient world, and you can still see it replicated in British buildings in the last 200 years, like the London Natural History Museum and the British Museum. So, in conclusion, Hadrian's Wall is an important historical marker, as well as a catalyst for Romanizing Britain. It's a little weird, considering it was made to defend, but its legacy really isn't related to defense at all. Hadrian's Wall stands to this day as a symbol of Roman influence and as a relic of human history.